Fargo schools encourage teachers to escape Florida and work in Say Gay school system. Fargo Schools Superintendent Dr. Rupak Gandhi, Fargo Schools Director of Equity and Inclusion Dr. Tamara Uselman, and Fargo City Commissioner John Strand and Democratic North Dakota State Rep Joshua Boschee recently wrote a letter that they are distributing to Florida teachers. The letter's goal is to show support for the LGBTQ plus community in Florida and to allow teachers to join a community with a job that allows them to show their support. The letter ends with the text, quote, "In summary, please know that Fargo Public Schools and public sectors within the Greater Fargo community not only offer a welcome to you, but offer actionable examples of our commitment to becoming an inclusive community that LGBTQ plus people can call home. Reach out if you have any questions or want to learn more," end quote. Well, bravo Fargo, and strong words there. I wonder if they were directed at anyone in particular. And just as I took a peek down on my phone, the Florida Supreme Court actually did something that was good for once, and they actually ruled that the governor's Stop Woke Act is unconstitutional.
Okay. This was like
5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. Oh, that fueled me quite a bit.
Right? Like energy is like now lit.
Oh, that's good.
On this, I'm kind like great for them. Love that. But are you taking away queer teachers from queer and
right?
Queer and,
And that's the thing is we find the situation where we have a mass exodus of queer people and people from any marginalized
New York and California
to move to other states or really any state that's going to be more accepting to them than than Florida is.
Front of the coast.
And what I fear so much is we have a lot of this lost cause rhetoric. And I don't mean lost cause like Civil War lost cause. I mean lost cause like we have a lot of this lost cause rhetoric where we see the ways in which Florida is being deemed as a lost cause. It's being deemed as a they do have Civil War lost cause rhetoric because there are racists obviously in our school district. But,
really?
I'm sure.
No.
I'm sure. But where we see that we treat Florida as this lost cause, as this thing that is too far gone. And I want to remind folks that it was only 4 years ago that Andrew Gillum lost by 0.4%. It was like 30,000 votes, I think. And that is that's I think that's like the population of Wilton Manor. So that's like what I mean. So we just had like one more Wilton Manors pop up somewhere. And so it's only been 4 years, and yes, we have seen our state get redder with the 2020 election, but there is so much hope if we really put in that work. And what I fear is that people aren't going to put in that work, that they're going to think that we're too far gone, even though it's only been 4 years, and stop investing in supporting queer youth in Florida. Queer youth are going to, even if you moved every single queer person out of the state of Florida, queer people are going to continue to be born, and there's so many queer people in the state of Florida who don't have the financial means to leave, who call Florida home and grew up here and are not going to leave it behind
because there's still that emotional connection. Yeah,
exactly.
And not only that, I mean, teachers aren't only leaving our schools because of the governor's assault on public education, but also because the governor's lack of care for public education. Defunding public schools in the last legislative session by $70 million. That is ridiculous.
That's borderline unethical.
Yeah, I mean, you have teachers like my mom who are literally struggling to make ends meet, having to work 2 and 3 jobs just to provide for families. And we see this assault by the governor. And so I think Fargo Schools is doing a great thing in trying to attract teachers from Florida. And honestly, I really can't blame teachers for leaving their school districts and leaving Florida to go to a place where they are more appreciated. In Florida, we do not appreciate our teachers the way that we should. And there are school districts across the nation that do. And if teachers go there, it's our fault.
And there's a reason that there is a 9,000 teacher shortage in the state of Florida. There is a reason that they now have to hire veterans who do not have any teaching experience.
And let's be clear, there's not a teacher shortage. There's several people that want to be teachers, but there is a lack of funding for those teachers that are supposed to come to the classroom. So I'm tired of the GOP branding this as a teacher shortage. No, it is a equity shortage problem in the state of Florida as it concerns teachers in public education.
Yeah, and it's going to continue. It's going to continue unless we stop having this end-all mentality that you brought up. I thought that was really like a great point that you made about that. Just you know, I'm going to college, right? And I specifically, when I was going to college, someone said New York and California, and I was like, that struck a chord. I'm moving all the way up to New York because I feel safer there. And I know that, you know, any institution that has like students, young people, will definitely be much more supportive, except for BYU. But that's another point. That's another point of contention. But I'm moving to New York to study, you know, in there because I feel like there's a better community, or you know, whatever, and I would feel more accepted there. But that also just brings up this, and I'm so honored to have that privilege to do that. But there's also this idea of the opportunity gap. Someone else brought that up. And there is an opportunity gap. And I feel like this idea with the Fargo teachers moving everyone down, that kind of strikes a chord with me, because I feel like if all the teachers start moving down to a certain location, which I know is not going to happen, like, you know, obviously that's not going to happen, but having that one teacher who kind of is like the rebellious sort, who maybe has the gay pride sticker like secretly, will give at least one student the comfort or the safety to stand up, or to maybe come out to them, or to maybe, you know, say something, or to feel more comfortable, to stop themselves from, you know, self-harming, or from, you know, going over the edge for whatever when they don't feel accepted at home. You know, I find teachers to be so incredibly important, because for 8 hours a day, they're your parents. They're your parents for 8 hours a day for 12, even more years of your life. And I feel like that is so important to have that important, you know, teacher-student connection, and to make sure that there are an even distribution of teachers that are not veterans, that are not, you know, veterans are cool, but, you know, people who are qualified to be teachers, you know, and I think, you know, Ron DeSantis, this is a last resort measure that he's putting in too. Yeah. Like, he's doing the same thing that you were saying, of like this last resort mentality, like by implementing policemen and you know, those types of people in that workforce. That's a last resort mentality too, instead of just, oh, let's maybe give a little more money that we have to, you know, teachers, to be able to pay them so that they're not literally under the poverty line when they're doing their job, which is literally raising children that will continue to work for them.
Yeah. That's the thing with that as well. You said with the whole like mentality. I think a lot of people forget government is like a pendulum. It's constantly swinging back and forth. That's what a bipartisan government, democratic government, does. That's what it happens. And I think they forget, they get stuck, that it's like, just because it's swinging this one way doesn't mean it's always going to be like that. It's bound to swing back, because that's what it was for a few years there. We were making really far strides with different things, women's reproductive health rights, and then we have queer rights, all of these different things. We were making far strides, and now it was bound to happen eventually. It's swinging back. But we can't automatically just give up on a whole state that has, I don't even know how many people, too many probably.
It's the third most populous state in the country.
Yeah, and there's so many, and we can't just give up on that. And again, with the teachers thing, my mom, she was a teacher. She left right before the pandemic. Best decision of her life, because the money is just, it's not there. And it's really unfortunate, because we have all of these people working to give an education to kids that it's a free country. We're very highly based on everyone gets an education. And the people who are giving that education are not getting what they deserve. Yeah, and it really is not okay. And what you said about the mentors, it's like, a teacher can be one of the most important things in someone's life. The biggest mentors in my life have been one of my teachers. And that is something that will not change.
And the reason why, you know, we see teachers leaving, let's be clear, is they're not paid enough. There is an equity issue, and also we have let's be real, we have legislation that has driven so many people out of the workforce, especially queer teachers, especially teachers of color, that has driven them out of the workforce because they don't feel supported in their schools, and they don't feel safe even in their schools. And so you know, and now we're talking about arming teachers and all of these other things that do not make students safer, that do not make make teachers safer, and so of course they're going to leave, and so that's that issue, right? Is when we have, like you said, when we have that one teacher who is able to support us, and we have that one rebellious teacher. I had a choice. I've had so many opportunities to leave. Right. And I made a conscious decision. I said, and I knew that this was going to get worse before it got better, but I made a conscious decision. I'm here for the long haul. Right. This is my home. This is the place that I call home, and I'm not going to let it fall into the ocean or whatever people want to happen to the state of Florida. I'm going to see this through, and I'm going to make sure that I'm fighting the good fight to make sure that queer youth who come after me are also able to expand on the work that I've done, who are able to feel supported, who don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to be able to talk about their parents in schools, to whether they're going to be able to talk about themselves in schools, and that's so fundamental. And it's the reason I say I planted my feet here, and I'm not leaving.
Yeah, and I think it's so important that we talk about teachers again. I think there is so much effort to keep students safe. That we forget that we also have a duty to our teachers and our staff on campuses across the state. And central here to Broward County, where I'm running to implement change, on the school board to have equitable policies that are reflective of our majority minority community here in Broward. I think that it is super important that we look at the state of our teachers, and we look at the state of our district and realign our strategies to that. And I have all confidence that this school district will not, comply 100% with the governor and these rules and these new legislation, but it's still so scary. And that's why we need a robust approach to mental health, because according to the APA, the #1 killer of students aged 12 to 18 is suicide. And now you imagine being able not to speak about the issues that are personally impacting you, and it eats you from the inside out. It's very difficult to contain that. And I really wish that I don't have to govern during a time on a school board where we're seeing students here at home commit suicide because of the trauma that they're experiencing at home and not being able to talk about it in the classroom. And so these are super important issues, and I'm happy that we're all on the forefront of them. And that we will continue to advocate for them and make sure that we are going to schools in a way that is equitable, that aligns with our constitutional rights as Americans and as Floridians, and more importantly, that allows us to celebrate our diversity in whatever way that might be.
Right.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.